Hey, welcome back. So, remember that scavenger mask thing? I think if you find the mask, then the crystals don't hurt you, which is cool, but I don't know where to get it. I didn't know that when I first played it. I just was just looking at the walkthrough and was like, hey, that guy's wearing the mask. I never found the mask. And I still don't have it, right? Yes, I do. I'm a stupid idiot. Oh my god. How did I not know Ugh. Did I somehow I went through this whole place without the mask. How did I do that? I don't know. When I did my first playthrough. I remember it being super frustrating, but I did it. Okay, French Revolution. Ready? So I wanted to read this book because... What's the book called? I think it's just called, like, The Napoleonic Wars. And it's just about the French War in 1800s. So... I mean, okay, Napoleon, we all know Napoleon, French Revolution, but I guess that didn't really make sense to me. Like, okay, we know the French Revolution, and then, like, a couple years later, France has conquered all of Europe. Like, how did that happen? We don't learn about that in our American schools. It's funny, we just, like, learn about the Louisiana Purchase, and then it's like, oh, Napoleon was this quirky guy doing his thing, and he sold us Louisiana, because he was doing his own thing over there, being a crazy guy. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But we never learn about... This was basically the First World War. They even called it the Great War, before they called World War I the Great War, and they called the Napoleonic Wars the Napoleonic Wars. One of the names for it was the Great War because it was between France and Britain and Russia, and they even went into Africa, and Haiti was involved, the Americas. The U.S. actually kind of stayed out of it for the most part, but there was one point where I think, I'm going to get this totally wrong, but like Spain crossed America, and like they did something in Canada, and like Britain was mad at Spain, and France was there, and then America's like, well, we're staying out of it. Okay, so here's how the French Empire started. Ready? This is what I was confused about, but I have it now. Totally right. I totally know. I'm going to summarize the whole book for you. The French Revolution overthrew the monarchy and installed a new government. In 1793, the new government passed this Edict of Fraternity, which encouraged other European nations to do the same, to overthrow their monarchical governments. They're like, it's our duty to spread our version of democracy all over the world, and like, down with the monarchies. We need to fix the world. Well, the edict encouraged other nations. France, though, thought this was necessary and their main goal, so even if people in other countries didn't rise up, they felt they could do it on their behalf, hence the invasions. So I think that's how the Napoleonic War started, and this was even before Napoleon. I mean, he was just a general in 1795 or whatever. And his first big mission was to Egypt, where he kind of didn't do great, but people still liked him for some reason. And then when he got back from Egypt, he overthrew the French government again, which was interesting. I think this was in like 1799 or something. He gets back from Egypt, and he's like, this government is so unstable, let's overthrow it. And the people actually kind of liked that he wanted to do that, because they're like, well, Napoleon promised stability, I think, was his main promise. Like, I'm going to overthrow the government, but like the government's been into this chaos since the revolution. Constantly new governments all the time, bing, bing, bing. And he's like, I'm going to change that. I'm going to bring in stability, and like, I'm a great general, so you could trust me. And the people were kind of on board with it. They trusted him, I guess, for some reason. And so that's how we get Napoleon. I just summarized the first 5 chapters for you. I hate these guys. Ooh, ooh. Equality, fraternity, equality, monarchy. This is annoying. Let me out of here. Ow. I'm just gonna shoot him with the thing. Shoot him with the thing. Oh, I should use the gun. Why don't I have the gun? See, you only get 1 bullet. That's not cool. I'm gonna shoot this guy. Bucko! Fraternity, equality. Oh. I don't want to spend too much time on stupid France, but it's interesting. France conquered the world for like 10 years, and then they collapsed. I haven't gotten to the collapse part yet, which is probably equally interesting. Like, how did that happen so quick? You conquered all of Russia, and all of Spain, and all of France, and Italy, and then all of a sudden, like, you get cold in Moscow, and then it's all gone. Waterloo, I don't know. Waterloo. What is this? How do I do this? Oh, I don't remember this. I bet I can blow up this wall. And I can waste my ammo because I don't need it. Nope, never mind. So more about that in a minute. Okay, after France started winning, they got greedy. And they wanted to keep conquering. 1799, Napoleon goes to Egypt, protects the government, blah, blah, blah. He does the coup in 1799. People think he's cool. Basically, they wanted to use the upheaval and now stability, blah, blah, blah. Napoleon was a legit dictator. Okay, that was an interesting thing. I guess in my mind, since we never really learned much about Napoleon, I'm like, oh, he's just kind of like a general, and he was... in the time of Napoleon, France was a dictatorship, pretty much. He had, like, secret police, and he was kind of paranoid about people overthrowing him. Like, all the stuff that you hear in... I think, actually, I'm going to say this. It's probably not true, but like, he was the first modern democratic dictator, because like, all dictators now have to be, they have a faux democracy. It's not real. Like North Korea, they vote in North Korea, but I mean, right? In Russia, the government votes you. I don't know. I like this guy. He has 2 forms. Ready? Oh. And, oh, it's crazy. I'm gonna shoot you with the thing. Boom. Okay, that's it. You're done. Napoleon was a legit dictator. They had a vote in France and it was like 3 million for him and 1,000 against. It's like that's okay. That reminds me of like North Korea and stuff. Like they voted, but he silenced opposition, which is what you do when you're a dictator. I wonder if there were that's like an interesting aspect that I never really hear. Like he was the first modern dictator. Like he had to get public approval, kind of, but like he did it mostly through fear and just like killing people who disagreed with him. I guess dictators always had to do that, like Caesar and stuff. I don't know. But it had to have been the first modern, like, democratic dictatorship, because America just invented it pretty much a couple years ago, and we didn't have a dictatorship because we're better than France. So yeah, France, they goofed it. They should have just followed us. Like, do what we're doing. We figured it out, guys. You have a president. After 8 years, he leaves. But Napoleon was not doing that. He was the military dictator. He told everybody what to do. Nobody could question him. He didn't have to answer to Congress. I don't know. Perfidy. I wanted to look up that word because I liked it. Ooh, this is interesting. So guess what these guys are? They go inside the little cubes. They power the cubes. What does perfidy mean? I wanted to look that up because I like that word. Deceitfulness, untrust. It was an example of his perfidy. Oh, great sentence. Use perfidy in a sentence. It was an example of perfidy. What? In the context of war, perfidy is a form of deception in which one side promises to act in good faith with the intention of breaking that promise once the unexpected enemy is exposed. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know about perfidy. It's a war crime. So I guess you're like, oh, sure, we won't attack you if you go into the canal, and then you attack them in the canal. Oh, what perfidy you've done to us. How can you be so perfidious? Oh, there's another term I liked. Am I done? Yeah. I'll fight the boss tomorrow. They called what France did when they were like going to all these countries and trying to liberate them. They called it homicidal philanthropy, which I liked. They were basically trying to free people by force and being like, you guys should have a democracy like us. And they're like, we don't want to. And they're like, too bad, we're gonna kill you and put in a democracy anyway. What? That doesn't sound good. Well, that's what's happening, sorry. Like, you don't know what's good for you, so we gotta do it for you. Oh, are they shooting those guys? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. They're like a security system. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. I like this game. It's cool. That might be it for Napoleon this week. I'm only gonna do 6 episodes, I think. Should I do 7? I don't know. I will decide and let you know tomorrow. See you tomorrow.